The first one, I I was hanging out. This was the second time I had hung out with this guy, and I knew he was, for lack of a better term, bummy. He wasn't doing things party promoter, but like, you know, LES parties where it's all the cool kids. It's not like club promoting. Either way, it's not a real job. Um, and I met him at this hole in the wall bar. Everything surrounding him wasn't good. Now that I think about it, everything from where I met him and from how I met him and the things he spoke about, I just knew he wasn't good news. But I hung out with him anyway. The first time we hung out, we took a walk in the park. It was late though, it was like 8 o'clock around the park. Inside the park. He made me laugh. I was like, ha ha ha. He was cute, cool, and and I felt comfortable. And one time we went out. Well, I felt comfortable. And then there was one time we hung out, and everybody he was like, oh, yeah, this is my, he didn't call me his girlfriend. Um, but he's like, yeah, this is Garcelle when we went out the first time. So I went out with him on 3 occasions. One was the walk in the park, and the second time we hung out is the first time I slept with him. And yeah, they were like, oh, she's cute, keep her around, blah, blah, blah. Things friends say when they want you to get some pussy. Um, then I went back to his house, hung out the night, had a whole night bouncing around the Lower East Side. Went to his house and we did the do. Cool. A couple, like maybe a week or so later, he's like, want to go out again? I said, yeah, sure, let's go out. This time, he offered me this some drug that you sniff and it's supposed to make you high and laugh and giggle. He called it a popper. And I had a sniff and giggled and laughed and felt lightheaded and cool and drank on top of that. And yeah, for a minute. And I was with a friend and she was hanging out with the guy as well. We met up with them. This is after the popper. And before we left, we met up with my girlfriend and her guy friend at the time. And hung out, had drinks, danced, whatever. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, you okay? You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Woo." And I, I said goodbye to her, and then I kept hanging out with him. And the night after saying goodbye to her, I I don't really remember much of that night, but I woke up after saying goodbye to her. I don't remember much, but I woke up. I woke up in his place. But he lived at home with his parents. Um, I woke up in his place and it sounded like, well, him and his father were arguing. And I said, oh, shit. And the content of that uh, argument made for Ratchet TV. Because that argument it sounded like I needed to get out of there really fast. Um, and I I left. I think after the argument with his father, he stepped out. Didn't tell me anything, or I don't even know if he remembered I was in there or whatever. But some doors slammed, and the argument didn't last much longer when I woke after I woke up. It wasn't. very long at all. Um, but some doors slammed, and I didn't try to snoop around, look around, or anything. I just left. It was quiet. I found my way out of the place, and I just walked home. I didn't even know where I was until I exited the building. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not far from home, so I just walked home. Yeah, I didn't even know where I was. Um, and yeah, a few weeks later, like 2 weeks later, I'm getting this. I'm gonna get a little graphic here. Getting this brown discharge. So what the fuck is going on? My boobs were inflated. Like they were huge. Like what the fuck is this? And I was so tired. Oh, that was the most tired I've ever been. I was so tired. I'm like, why am I just? I can barely get out of bed. You know, in the middle of the day, I need like an 80-hour nap. It's crazy. Um, so yeah, those were the three things. I'm like, I've never experienced this. I need to. I don't know what's going on. And I peed on a couple of sticks. I was like, oh shit, oh shit. This is real. This is happening. And I went to Planned Parenthood, and they set me up with directions, with the pills, the directions, and I had to terminate the pregnancy. So that was time number one. I was pissed. I was pissed. I was angry at myself. I was angry that I was in this position. I felt guilty. Oh, guilt is such a weird emotion. Um, felt guilty. I felt guilty more than anything. Um, I don't think I ever felt shame, but I felt guilty. I was not ashamed. Although, guilt and shame do go hand in hand, you know, I couldn't be shameful for the things I've done, but I have felt guilty because it wasn't it wasn't something that I could talk about freely. It wasn't something that I I was happy to be doing. It's not what I wanted. I experienced. It's not what I expected my first pregnancy experience to be like. And it's yeah, I was just upset more than anything, more than the guilt, and more than the guilt. I was just pissed. I'm like, this is not what I want. Some of my history to be when I'm 45. I don't want to look back at my 20s and have this experience part of it. I try to move past it, but sometimes still comes back around. So that way, just more frustration than anything, more frustration and everything. So it was my girlfriend, uh, my close childhood friend. Um, I told her she, I don't know, because I remember her making light. She always made light of things, but looking back, no, she did not show up the way I needed. But in that time, who knows? I didn't even know what I needed. So she showed up though. Yes, there are societal things, societal uh, contributions to the mistrust of my own decisions in that instant. I'm in therapy. It's funny. I'm in therapy now. Um, talking about the answer when you say things in society, being rooted in the mistrust of my own intuition. I'm trying to unpack those answers now in ways that I'd never anticipated or never expected. So at the time, I could not sense. Uh, I could not sense an ulterior motive, but I think it was because of my own ignorance at the time, or my own naivete. Uh, because I always have this outward look that people are innocent before proven guilty, instead of people are guilty before uh, they're guilty, so they have to prove their innocence. So for me, I'm always inviting. So when he gave me the popper, um, I didn't even think about his intention at that point. And one of the reasons why I didn't is because I knew he was somebody I shouldn't be hanging around anyway, because of the people he kept around him, the things he was into. And it's like, I knew it. So any interaction after, us hanging out, me meeting up with him is fair game because I knew he's not the company I needed to keep, but he was cute. So that's what kept me around. Or that's what made me hang out with him. Or wanted to hang out with him. I thought he was so cool. And that's where I struggle with that one in particular because I already put myself there, and I had already maybe he felt he had consent because we had done it once before. There are many things, but the fact that I am not coherent enough to tell you yes or no, yeah, you took advantage of that. The guy who took advantage of that. So, or that could have been your intent from the beginning. The popper could have been anything. Popper could have been anything that made that would, have an extreme effect with the pairing of alcohol. So I really don't remember because I don't. I don't remember anything. The second time, that was a shit show. I could talk about it now. That was a shit show. Wow, the second time came at me fast. That was out of control. That was my own recklessness. I mean, the first time I blame myself, but in ways of being stupid, uh, naive. I was seeing a couple guys that were. This is what I learned men are shitty. This was the time that I had to shift and pivot on pandemic business, post COVID business buzzword shift and pivot. I had to rethink how I dated, what I was doing, because men are really shitty. They can be. I was seeing a few guys and being pretty reckless, and I thank God that uh, I didn't hurt myself by being so reckless the way I was at that time. Uh, I mean, I did that way, but yeah. And there was, yeah, trying to figure out who's responsible, what's going on, timing, and all these things. And when one guy had been seeing for 2 years on and off, And that was just so tumultuous, so toxic. Um, and I'm like, you're responsible. But for whatever reason, he kept acting like he didn't have the money, and I knew he had the money, but he just was not giving me the money. And I had to scramble. I scrambled hard for that one because I knew that if I had moved forward, the trajectory of my life wouldn't look like it does now. I would have, I would have been crippled. Not to say that motherhood is uh, a crippling thing, but when you have it, when you are a mother in a trying circumstance, it's things are 10 times harder. And uh, at that point, I could have, I debated with myself. I debated with myself hard because this second time I'm in this position, I know I don't want a child right now, but I can't do this again. This is wrong to do this again. It felt like murder. It felt like, like, why am I not taking precaution? Do I think that this is, normal, yeah, not using protection and not protecting myself? The solution is termination. Is this going to be my habit? I'm fighting with the guy that I've been seeing for 2 years. And that was so bad because for 3 months I'd see him, like be seeing him, and then a month we don't talk. Then he harassed me for the month or 2 months. Call me, like not nonstop. And then I'd find myself back in his presence. Um, that was just so crazy. In I definitely knew he was responsible. I did not want to be tied to him for the rest of my life. Then um, the other guy who was responsible was he was from Denmark. He's so arrogant, so narcissistic. One time he got mad at me because he had published an article somewhere, some platform, some business platform, maybe Business Insider. He just published an article and it asked me to read it, let's say at 3 p.m. And at 5 p.m., I asked him, he sent me the article, said, look at what I just wrote. And around 5 p.m., I was like, hey, where are you? I'm at this location, let's meet up. And he said, hell no, I'm not meeting up with you because you didn't read my article. And I said to you 2 hours ago. He was nuts. So I definitely, he did not, I did not want to be tied to him for the rest of my life. And he was overseas at the time it happened. I didn't tell him. Well, I knew it was him. The guy for two that I had been seeing for 2 years. He he. I knew that I could get what I needed from him, and what I needed at the time was he did not have it. He said he didn't have what I needed. Um, Money and just showing up, even if it wasn't in the way that I needed. He was just there. I wanted to just come and cry. He was there, even though he annoyed me. That's why him and I were so toxic because I didn't like being around him but I liked having that company because he was just, I knew it was him. He knew it, but I had the feeling, but he was away. He was overseas, and it was just a mess. And then he came back, and I had already gone through the first part of the process. And he said he was all sweet. He's like, first of all, when I told him, came over and we spoke about it, he was like, why would you make that decision without telling me? I want a child, and I'd have you go give birth in Denmark. I'm like, what the fuck? No. And it's the family that the babies grow up Danish and have all this access because this family doesn't have access to me. I was like, you piece of shit. Um, but since we're already going through the process, I'll be here. No, return. We had just landed, um, just like from the overseas, and he he said, "Oh, when you go through the because with the pill you have to take one and take another. After 24, I can't remember how it was. After like 12 hours or 24 hours, you take the other one. And I already took one, and he said, okay, when you take the other one, call me and I'll come and bring you breakfast. I said, okay, that's so nice of him, right? I called this man, no answer. I called him like 3 times, he's not answer. And I spoke. I may have told him, I may have texted him, don't ever talk to me again or something like that. And he was like, um, I try to be nice and say I should bring you breakfast. And considering that I did not, I have jet lag. I was overseas for 3 weeks, and I try to be nice that you're making plans without me. And how dare you say not to talk to you again when I am trying to support you? I was sleeping, and that's why I wasn't able to answer the phone. I'm like, how did you turn this to a you thing? Like my whole body is experiencing a thing, and you were being the biggest jerk about it. I was like, I'll just give you the money for it, whatever. And I didn't see a dime from him. And it's not so much that I mean, I didn't have the money to take care of it, right? I had to borrow from my brother to cover that stuff. And that's why, although it may sound like I'm focused on money, I mean, life costs money, shit costs money. And I just didn't have it at the time. So that was pretty tough too. I had to lie to my brother about what I needed, or that didn't feel good either. Um, so that was a bit frustrating. Yeah, in Denmark, he was like, I'll give you the money, but never shut up. We never spoke after that. I never got breakfast. So he was there, I never got breakfast. And I just had to take care of myself and experience that by yourself. And that time I went to a private location because I had this fear that whatever I do in my future, somebody was at my medical history and could dig it up. I would hate for that to happen. But I just feel like the information is a little more vulnerable with Planned Parenthood. Yes. Yeah, they asked me to come back in a week or two to check on you to make sure you were fine, you didn't have any adverse reaction. Yeah, I was upset. I was still upset. Like, how the hell did I get here again? This is so stupid. Um, it was so stupid. I can't believe it. Why? how versatile, how the fuck did you get here? And if I was talking to a 16-year-old in the context of romance, in the context of dating, I would say, I would tell this little girl, this young woman, young woman, um, you know, your body is yours. It's cliche. Probably hear it a million times, but there, nothing can ever be anyone's decision but yours, especially when it comes to your body. Any decision you make, it belongs to you. Don't let anyone influence you or make you believe that your decision isn't cool. Your decision isn't on par with what's happening around you. Your decision contradicts what's expected of you. Your decision looks makes you look like a loser. Whatever it is, it's your decision, and be happy with it. Stick with it. And every decision has a consequence. And sometimes we think about consequences as these bad repercussions that happen, but no, there are good consequences. You know, you decide, not to have that extra drink, or maybe not even go out that night because you want to stay in and watch a movie. It could have saved you from a rain of trouble. And that's a good consequences from a very simple decision. Um, and to be proud of yourself, be proud of those decisions, trust them, believe them. Thank God for New York City. I'd be in a, I'd be a Mormon. I'd be alone. I'd just be alone. I'm turning my I'd be extreme, but if I didn't if I didn't have those tools and resources available to be able to even make the decision of moving forward or not, because in the places that we, these options are available, the default is no matter what happens, you have to keep it. And I know people who have had children as a result of rape, and I can only imagine how hard that is. And we still love the child, but every day we're living with this reminder. You have to shift your mind to not think of it that way, but it is. Children are supposed to, I believe children are supposed to come from love. And it's difficult to raise a child who came from the absence of it. It becomes trickier, it becomes a little more complex, raising that child. So I didn't have those options available to me. I'd be traumatized. I'd be a statistic. I'd be what a lot of people expect a black woman to be. I'd be, you know, I'd be economically stifled, fiscally stifled, socially, socioeconomically stifled for much longer than I need to be, or intended to be, because it just takes longer when you have more obstacles. And already just being born black is an obstacle in itself to climb those ladders. So, child with, you know, not in a two-parent system is difficult. Makes things more challenging. Not to say that it can't be done, not to take away from women who do it and prosper, who run companies and live comfortably. It's not to take away from that at all. I just know that they went through a lot and sacrificed a lot and beat a lot of odds to do so. And being in a city where these options are available to me, I'm very grateful for that because I would uh, I would have to face a lot of obstacles, or perhaps even giving up in the face of those obstacles.